Welcome everyone to the latest edition of the Sight Screen Cricket Journal podcast. I'm your host, Tawhid Qureshi, and today we'll be looking back at the test series between Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. I've got an amazing guest with me today. He's an ex-international Sri Lankan cricketer. He's represented his country 139 times across all formats of the game, taking 167 wickets and scoring over 1,500 runs. But not only that, why I'm particularly excited is that he's actually played with some of the legends of Sri Lankan cricket, not only legends of Sri Lankan cricket, but some of the legends of cricket full stop. So the likes of Murali and Sanath Jayasuriya, to name but two. He is a fantastic bowling all-rounder in his day. He is, of course, Mr. Farveez Maharoof. Welcome, Farveez.
Thank you, Tawhid. It was a nice introduction. Thank you so much.
No problem. Well, thank you very much for joining. I know you've kind of turned your hand now to sort of commentary and a new kind of career in the commentary box. So I know you've been watching the test series very closely between Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. So it's great to have you on, great to get your insights on the series. So to start with then, I've had to think back about the series because from a Bangladesh perspective, immediately when the series ended, I think there was a sense of disappointment of not doing better. But actually, now that the dust has settled, it's been about a week since the end of the series, I was kind of thinking again about how Bangladesh performed. And actually, although obviously they lost the series, I don't think it was as disappointing, or I don't think they played as badly as you know some people have kind of said in terms of their immediate reaction to the loss. I think, you know, if you were to put a positive spin on it, you could say really it was just one day of bad cricket, that sort of third day of the second test where they kind of had that batting collapse, which basically put them on the back foot, gave Sri Lanka that sort of big first innings lead, which Bangladesh couldn't kind of recover from. So from that point of view, you know, yeah, absolutely, Sri Lanka won the series. But just interested from your point of view, do you think there is a big kind of difference between the sides?
Yeah, I think it does. When it comes to man to man, person to person, I don't think there was much difference among the two teams. But definitely when it comes to executing the plans and executing the individual plans and team plans, I thought Sri Lanka were far ahead watching from the box. That's what I gathered. And also leading up to the series, Bangladesh lost to West Indies at home, lost to New Zealand away, and Sri Lanka going into this series, due the test series against West Indies in tough conditions. So that was a bit of a moral boost what they had. So overall, I thought Sri Lankans were much more prepared when it comes to home conditions, and also where Bangladesh lost the series, especially in the second test match, as you said, the third day's batting, as well as on the first day of the second test match, only one wicket was picked up on the 300 run. I think close to 300 runs was scored. So those are the 2 days I could think of, and also a lot of positive for Sri Lanka. I mean, the two young spinners coming through the system, bowl so well. I mean, they bowl as if they've been playing Test cricket for a longer time. So that's a huge positive for Sri Lanka, as well as the form of the captain and Thirimana and senior players like Dhananjay De Silva, who all put their hands up and stand the authority. So I thought overall Bangladesh did miss some key players as well. I got to say that, I think 2-3 players were missing. But saying that, I thought executing the plans individually and as a team, I thought Sri Lankans, that's how that's what the differences were seen, especially watching from the box.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. That sense of not kind of executing plans and kind of really seizing opportunities when they arise, I think really put Bangladesh on the back foot. Because I think you're right. I think there were certain passages of play where Bangladesh might have got on top if they'd have executed their plans better, if they'd have just applied a bit more kind of concentration or game sense. Things might have turned out slightly differently. So one example that I would give of that was towards the end of the third day of the first test, where it was towards the end of the day's play that the light was getting a bit gloomy. Dhananjaya De Silva had only arrived at the crease. He was looking a bit scratchy, and Abidot, the Bangladesh pace bowler, came on to bowl. The edge was induced off De Silva's bat, but there was a vacant slip cordon, or there was a vacant slip who had just been moved by Mominul, the captain, the ball before. So for me, it was just slight moments like that where, if Bangladesh were really intent on kind of forcing the issue, like you say, on executing their plans, the captain should have been more switched on, I think, and just more attuned to what was going on to try to make that kind of critical breakthrough. Because I think at that stage, Sri Lanka were about 190 for free. If they'd have got that wicket, the night watchman would have come in, further opportunities would have presented itself. So from that point of view, do you think Bangladesh should have done more in terms of, well, you've already said they should have executed their plans better, but do you think in terms of maybe Mominul's captaincy and just the general kind of intensity levels within the field, do you think they could have improved in that area?
I think the difference was most of the time Mominul was reactive than being proactive. So that's number one, I gathered. And the first time that I watched a live game when Mominul or maybe Bangladesh played, so intensity level wise, I thought Sri Lankans had more energy. Could clearly see in from the commentary box. But saying that, when it comes to batting of Bangladesh in the first test was just magnificent. I mean, when you just saw how Shanto and the Tamim Iqbal and Mominul, all these guys batted. But Sri Lankans did their homework right. Second test match, the wicket was prepared a bit lesser grass and more suitable for spinners. Or they won the all-important toss. As well as when it comes to team selection-wise, I thought Bangladesh going in for 3 seamers in the second test match. I questioned that on air as well. I mean, Sri Lanka took the other step around. They dropped a fast bowler and picked up a spinner, whereas Bangladesh played that round. So I thought that's why I said Sri Lankans were much prepared going into the second test match, and also it was quite evident. Like 3 quicks on that wicket, didn't do that much. But whereas if Bangladesh had a quality another spinner with a batsman or a bowler who could bat or a batsman who could bowl well, I thought that would have been a difference as well. But saying that, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Sri Lanka. They were just magnificent. The entire test match, they never let the Bangladeshis to raise their heads. I mean, when they were strangled properly. So I thought a lot of credit should go to Sri Lanka, and also a lot of lessons to be learned for Bangladesh. I mean, some passage of plays where they just were going through the motions. There was no fight. So those are the things this young team should learn from and bring it to the next series what they play for.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it's kind of ironic what you say about the team selection for the second test, where they went in with those 3 quick bowlers, Bangladesh, because actually, if you look back over sort of previous series and previous years, picking more than one sort of fast bowler has very much been the exception.
No, I understand the first test match, Bangladesh picking up 3 fast bowlers because there was so much grass, and even we thought, I was looking at the wicket, that it was going to be much more conducive for seamers, whereas even Sri Lanka picked up 3 seamers for the first test. So it didn't happen. So when there was less grass and the less moisture in the second test match, I think Bangladesh misread the wicket. I think first test, Sri Lanka misread the wicket. Captain said, if he had won the toss, he was going to bowl, whereas Mominul won the toss and batted. So I thought it's a bit of a dilemma where with the second test match, Bangladesh misread the wicket. So we clearly knew there was less water added to the wicket, and it's going to take spin at least by third day. I think I remember I did the pitch report for the second day, and I predicted it's going to turn by end of third day, and it actually turned out to be. So I'm just guessing that Bangladesh did misread the wicket in the second test match.
Yeah, they certainly could have done with an extra spinner in that second test match, like you say. Obviously, they went in with Taijul and Mehdi Miraz as well. But yeah, like you say, yeah, you're right. That third spinner really is Shakib, who is obviously wasn't playing because he was in the IPL.
I mean, Shakib, I don't think anyone could replace Shakib. His identity himself. So what I'm saying is when it comes to, numbers in the team, the dimensions, the balance, I thought it was lost because if you take the three fast bowlers, apart from Tuskin, the rest of the fast two bowlers, I think the left arm quick Shariful did bowl a lot. But Abu Jaid didn't bowl that lot and he was very ineffective, especially the second test match. So that's where a third spinner would have been idle. I mean, a spinner who could bat. And unfortunate that Bangladesh, boasting so many all-rounders when it comes to spinners, couldn't fit in a place like what Shakib Al Hasan been doing for such a long time. So it's something that they got the think tank should think of. I mean, I'm a big follower of Bangladesh cricket. I mean, I played a lot of domestic cricket in Bangladesh, so I know the system very well. So there are a lot of players coming through, but whether they miss that place in that 11, I have a big question.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Obviously, Shakib is totally irreplaceable, but yeah, I think they really, like you say, they really missed a top order batsman who could come in and bowl some sort of part-time spin, even if it was sort of 10, 15 overs in the innings. I think that would have made a big difference, a bit like what Dhananjaya De Silva did for Sri Lanka throughout the series. But to kind of look at some positives from the Bangladesh point of view, you're right. I think the way they batted in that first innings in the first test was very impressive. Like you say, choosing to bat itself, having won the toss was quite a bold step. And, the way that Tamim sort of raced out the blocks was really impressive. And like you say, Najmul Hassan Shantu's century as well as Momin's century, all things to be pleased about. One thing, if I was being actually sort of ultra critical, is the way that Tamim seemed to get out throughout the series, and actually he's kind of got out in similar ways in the previous series against West Indies, whereby when he's very well set, he's in the 90s, he looks like he's well set for a century. He seemed to kind of give his wicket away a little bit, I would say. Certainly in that.
I thought when I got Tamim, looking at Tamim's 3 dismissals, the first test when he was on 90, yes, played a very loose stroke outside the off stump. Second test match, left arm spinner caught at slip, playing a defensive shot. Nothing wrong that Tamim did, but just a good delivery and good variation shown by the debutant Praveen Jayawickrama. And second innings of the test match, he got a peach from Ramesh Mendis. I don't think, it will be very critical to point Tamim out when it comes to, if he had played a bad stroke, I would have said the same. But I don't think, apart from the first test when he got caught in the slips on 90, don't think that Tamim did play badly. Just that second test match, both innings, he got 2 peach deliveries from 2 newcomers.
Yeah, certainly. I think that sort of second innings of the second test, I think by that stage, I think all the Bangladesh batsmen were pretty kind of spent mentally. You could tell that, that huge 400 plus target was never achievable. It was just a case of trying to occupy the crease. And like you say, the pitch was turning. They were always going to get some good deliveries to exploit that. But yeah, just going back to the positives, and you mentioned him before, Tuskin Ahmed, just the fact, what impressed me, so he took 8 wickets across both tests, but what impressed me, I think, more than those wickets was just the sheer number of overs that he bowled. For someone who's been quite injury prone in the past, who's battled against kind of fitness issues, only coming back to test match cricket after quite a long, considerable break, I was very impressed by the number of overs he bowled and by the way that he kind of maintained his intensity and his speed throughout those overs.
Yeah, definitely.
What was your kind of view on his bowling?
Yeah, definitely. Taskin was the biggest when it comes to bowling attack. I thought Taijul and Mehendi did bowl well, but if I had to choose one among the entire Bangladesh bowling lineup, I think it's going to be Taskin. Not too sure whether he picked up more wickets or it's one of the spinners picked up more wickets for Bangladesh. But saying that, the 2 test matches, coming back from injury, coming into a test series, the intensity he showed. You spoke about the word intensity. So every spell he came in, there was some sort of a plan, some sort of a energy built up. I mean, it's not easy bowling more than 50 overs in a test series. It's no easy work. So what he did, single-handedly carried the entire fast bowling attack of Bangladesh. That's exactly what he did. And it reminds me of a bit of Mustafi Mortaza when he was playing test matches. That's exactly what he did. Sometimes Bangladesh plays with 3 fast bowlers and 1 lonely quick in Mashrafi. So, if I'm to sum up in one word of Thaskin in this series, I would say lion-hearted, because he kept on running, never looked like a player without any gas. He looked hungry. He was giving his 150% every time he came to a spell. So the biggest, when it comes to the entire Bangladesh tour of Sri Lanka, the test series, the biggest positive, I would say, Thaskin. Runs, when it comes to runs, yes, the batsmen have dominated more. But to win a test match, you need bowlers to take 20 wickets, and you need especially fast bowlers who will run in the entire day for the captain. So that's exactly what Thaskin did. And that's a very good hallmark of a cricketer, giving his, although things aren't looking rosy for Bangladesh when it came to the 4th day of the test match, he still kept on running for the team. So that's a very good body language to have. And I'm sure Thaskin will only get better and better.
Yeah, I think any Bangladesh follower or Bangladesh supporter will certainly hope that's the case. And yeah, just like you say, the sheer volume of overs that he bowled was quite staggering. He bowled 30 overs in a single innings in the first test, and then I think he bowled something like 38 overs in the second test. So I think he's well due a rest. And actually, I think one of the issues that Bangladesh might have is in the future is how to kind of use him effectively, because I think there will be a temptation to over bowl him, particularly like you say when some of the other bowlers aren't bowling as well. So like you said, Abu Jayed had quite a disappointing series. Sharaful was only quite new. Ebadat as well in the first test was bowled well in patches only. So yeah, I think the challenge will be for someone like Mominor in his captaincy not to kind of over bowl him and try. I
think more than the captain is the duty of the selectors how to use Thaskin Ahmed. So nowadays, you don't see much fast bowlers playing all 3 formats. Saying that, I'm not sure what's best for Thaskin. That's not my duty to say it, but all I can say is it's important to manage his workload. And also, I've been seeing a lot of fast bowlers coming through in the Bangladesh setup. I was part of the Under-19 World Cup where Bangladesh won, and I was the manager of the Sri Lankan team. So I've seen some good bowlers coming through when it comes to fast bowlers. So talent is there in Bangladesh, but just that, getting the right individual to play the right format of the game, it's very important. So that's where the think tank, the selectors, the management should work on, and have sets of players who they think that will be more suitable for each format. So I think saying that it will be only betterment for Thaskin's future if his workload be managed, but that is not captain's job. That is the management and the selectors and the coach's job to manage his workload and look after him.
Absolutely, yeah. I suppose I was looking at it from the point of view when he's playing an actual test. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I think it's hard enough for a top order batsman to play all 3 formats of the game, let alone a fast bowler. It just doesn't happen. And personally, I'm someone who absolutely loves Test cricket. I don't think Bangladesh sort of give enough kind of prominence to it. So I would hope that he does continue to play tests as long as he can, and that he's allowed to develop kind of in that role. Certainly, I know with there's the ODI series that's supposed to be beginning in a couple of weeks. I'd be very disappointed if he actually features in that series, because I think he really should have a bit of a rest. So moving on then, looking at things as we have done from a Bangladesh point of view, but now let's look at a little bit from the Sri Lankan point of view. You've already touched on it, but there's no way that we can have this conversation and not talk about Praveen Jayawickrama, particularly, that performance in the second test, taking those 11 wickets. Well, first of all, he took that 6-wicket haul in the first innings, which was the best performance by a Sri Lankan bowler on debut. I'm quite, well, not surprised. I think I kind of follow world cricket fairly closely, but I hadn't heard of him prior to this game. I think not many people who unless you follow Sri Lankan cricket very closely, I think you wouldn't have heard of him at all, really. I actually did a preview of this series with someone you know very well, Roshan Abe Singh, and I don't think he'd kind of knew too much about him either. So just interested in his story. Where has he come from? How good do you think he could be in terms of his potential?
I mean, cricket is a funny game. So they say, there's an old saying, someone's loses someone's game. So how Praveen Jayawickrama got into the squad was the top #1 spinner in Sri Lanka, left-arm spinner Lasith Tambuldeni, was injured during the West Indies tour. And then his immediate replacement was there were two other spinners, left-arm spinners. So one was the other guy, other player who was supposed to replace Lasith Tambuldeni was injured too. And the third backup did fail a fitness test. So that's how, I should be saying the third choice was Praveen Jayawickrama. So that's how he got into the squad. So he never played the first test for certain reasons. And speaking to some of the players who played against him in the nets, they said, the players I spoke to did say that, what Praveen possesses is good control, good variations, good flight of the ball. And it's just unorthodox by the way he delivers the arm. Sometimes it's a bit squarish, sometimes it's right on top. So those are the things that I gathered. So when it comes to his first class career, it's just been a couple of years since he started playing. So there was no much eyebrows to raise with his performances. Yes, that's the truth. So that's where the boy's character comes in. The way he bowled, the experience what he showed, the maturity levels he showed to bowl against each other, Bangladesh experienced batsmen. That's where Sri Lanka won the series. Because normally you expect a debutant spinner who's leading the attack to have a bit of butterflies in the stomach, be nervous, some loose series, but you hardly saw that from Praveen Jayawickrama. So that shows, in our in Sri Lankan first class structure, there are good players coming through. Just we have to identify them. That's exactly what the Bangladesh Cricket Board should do as well. There are a lot of cricketers coming in, but it's important to have the quality than the quantity. So that's where both the cricket boards should be looking into the future, going into, you take Sri Lanka this year, their calendar is non-stoppable. They'll be playing cricket entire year. So that you need a bigger squad. So you need backup. So when it comes to Praveen Jayawickrama, yes, came to the under-19 system, played a couple of years of first-class cricket, stayed thrown into the deep sea of Test cricket. Here we go. That shows the character of the boy who just came up primes.
Yes, certainly. I think what impressed me the most, you've said it already, was just his calmness and his maturity. Because, the top order of Bangladesh, well, there are some key wickets that he got there. Obviously, he got Tamim out in the first innings of Bangladesh's batting innings, that was, and I think that was a real crucial wicket. He changed the angle of attack. He wasn't afraid to bowl around the wicket, which he did. He slanted it across Tamim, and he kind of got the edge there. So that was a key wicket. And then obviously getting someone like Mushrifur Rahim out as well with the arm ball, the one that skidded on a bit more, trapping Mushrifur back on the crease as well, was a fantastic result. So I was certainly impressed by his maturity, the fact that he wasn't phased at all by the opposition who he was bowling at was certainly a big plus point. One thing also, I thought he was ably supported by Ramesh Mendez, who as well bowled very well in tandem with him. And one thing that interested me was that actually, if you look at the respective spinners on both sides, so Taijul and Mehdi Miraj Hassan, you would say, more experienced spinners. They have more test wickets, obviously, but actually they were out-bowled. So both Mendes and Wickrama basically out-bowled two more kind of experienced bowlers, which I thought was a real big plus for them as well.
I think it's more down to the situation of the game. Generally, a test match wicket doesn't spin on the first day, so that's where Taijul and Mominul bowled the second test match. So if when you say out bowl, I don't think Taijul. I mean, just Taijul sometimes just was pushing it, quite quick, trying to contain the batsman. That is purely because he was bowling on the first day and second day of the test match when there's no spin at all. So whereas Praveen and Ramesh Mendes bowl, that was the third day. That's the day it started spinning a little bit. And also runs on the board. When you have 409 runs on the board, spinners definitely loves scoreboard pressure to the batsman. So overall, I think percentage-wise, very hard to say Taijul and Mehendi Hasan was outbowled, but situation of the game shows that they did outbowl them. But I don't think Bangladesh should be that worried when it comes to the spin attack. Yes, they did bowl well, but they bowled well when there was not much purchase from the wicket. So whereas when the Sri Lankans were bowling, there was a little purchase. And also when you have a spell of 6 wickets by a youngster, magical spell, most of the time, scoreboard doesn't reflect the real picture. So that's where I think the real picture is. I don't think I will pinpoint saying Mehendi and Taijul did have off series. I don't think I can say that because they did bowl well in patches. But of course, on their day, they can be match winners to Bangladesh. So I don't think Bangladesh should be too disheartened by the two spinners' performances. I mean, they are world beaters. They have shown in the past, so I'm pretty sure that they'll bounce back.
Yeah, I hope so. And yeah, you're absolutely right. A lot of the time they were bowling in very tough conditions. So that really long innings that Sri Lanka had in the first test, where they racked up those sort of 600 odd runs declared, bowling long spells on unresponsive surfaces, it's bound to be very difficult to actually take wickets in those circumstances. And yeah, absolutely, I think scoreboard pressure really is a big deal for when you're a spinner coming on to bowl. And actually, Taijul did pick up 5 wickets in the second Sri Lankan innings, but I think by that time Sri Lanka were obviously looking for quick runs to set up that big run chase in the last innings. But he picked up those 5 wickets nonetheless, and something to be pleased about. So let's just move away then from the Test series briefly and look towards the ODI series. So this is quite interesting for a number of reasons. I actually was quite surprised that these ODIs have actually been scheduled in, given the situation with the coronavirus pandemic. Well, I would say throughout South Asia. Obviously, there's lots of where there's an emergency situation in India at the moment, and obviously the situation in Sri Lanka and Bangladesh as well isn't very good either. So firstly, I was quite surprised that those games have been scheduled in. I don't know if you've got any views on that. I mean, do you think those games will actually go ahead?
I think I should. I mean, pandemic, Sri Lanka, if you take for example, Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka has hosted LPL in a bubble, hosted West Indies in a bubble, and hosted Bangladesh in a bubble. So life has to move on. I think if there is no danger being in a bubble and playing, and if the medical authorities and the authorities around it have the confidence, they could protect the bubble and play along. I think the life has to move on, isn't it? I mean, it's been more than a year, and if the precautions can be taken and measures can be taken and matches can be played behind doors with absolute 0 visitors and can protect the bubble, I think everything should move ahead. Sri Lanka is the biggest example. LPL was done brilliantly. When it comes to the tour of England, they were really reluctant to come, but they came as well, had a great series, played 2 test matches, no problem at all. And if I look at, IPL, yes, of course, it got cancelled because some sort of bubble was breached in some area. So that's what happened. So in my opinion, last year there was so much cricket lost. And also we're looking at the players' perspective as well as, running a cricket board. You need matches to happen. and players' perspective, they've got to play as a professional to have their life. So life has to move on, and all the precautions, if been taken, I don't see a problem. It shouldn't be happening. It should happen because the life has to move on.
Yeah, I mean, from a fan's point of view, from someone who's watching cricket only on TV as I am at the moment, I really want it to go ahead as well. I'm as much cricket as can be played is obviously great for people watching on TV. Obviously, if it's not impacting on the situation that's there at the moment, I guess just looking at, well, actually, you were saying about all the teams that Sri Lanka have hosted during the pandemic. So similarly, Bangladesh did host West Indies back in January, February time. That was actually quite a long tour, including ODIs and a test. They also hosted the Island A team recently, as well as the South African women's emerging team. Yeah, exactly. So there have been sort of tours that have been going on over the last sort of 4 or 5 months. So let's hope that continues.
That was so, yeah.
Yeah, just looking at the series itself then, I mean, the way that I see it, I would feel that Bangladesh will be in a good position, or in a quite strong position. They've obviously got Shakib coming back from the IPL, as well as Mustafizur to kind of bolster the bowling attack there. Plus, playing at home, you would expect, all of their players, their batsmen and their spinners, to be quite happy with those conditions. They beat the West Indies recently at home 3-0, although it was quite a weakened West Indies team. How do you see that series panning out in terms of the two strengths of the teams?
I think Bangladesh will definitely go as favourites, because clearly they won the series against West Indies 3-0, though they lost to New Zealand in New Zealand. I don't think it doesn't reflect the same picture. Sri Lanka coming into the one-day series, they lost to West Indies in West Indies 3-0. So coming into this, there are talks that most of the senior players will be rested / not considered, blah blah blah. So you never know. Squad is not been officially announced yet. So in case if the young team comes in, I could see a lot of enthusiasm. I could see a lot of hunger from the youngsters. Generally, when you introduce some youngsters, you will definitely see a big difference in the team. So I expect that from Sri Lanka if that happens. But clearly, with Mustafizur and Shakib Al Hasan coming into the team, definitely that will strengthen Bangladesh a lot. I'm not too sure about Mahmudullah, whether he'll be available or not. So overall, I think Bangladesh will go in as favorite. Sri Lanka will be underdogs, but underdog stacks definitely suit Sri Lanka, because even our players days, we love to have that tag of underdog rather than being favorites. There's less expectations when it comes to delivering it. So that's where you could go out there, enjoy, and when you enjoy your cricket, when you play without fear, most of the time you come out triumph. So I reckon Sri Lanka is not well when it comes to the past performance, not well drilled, but I won't be surprised if Sri Lanka surprises one of things, mainly because winning the Test series 1-0, the mentality coming in, and also if the newcomers come through, that's a different energy bubbling through as well. So overall, much look forward series coming up, because it's very important that both these countries build up the team for the 2023 World Cup. So I think it starts from now, and it's a very interesting one-day series to watch.
Absolutely, I'm certainly looking forward to it, and of course there are points at stake for the World Cup Super League, which makes those games even more important. And I'm certainly looking forward to seeing how Sri Lanka perform. If the youngsters that they've got in the Test team are anything to go by, I think they've got lots of exciting talent within the setup there. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that all pans out. So let's leave it there, Farveez. I mean, it's been great speaking to you about all things Test cricket related, ODI cricket related. I'm sure we could speak for a lot longer, but it's genuinely been fantastic having you on and getting all your insights. So thank you once again.
Thank you, Tawik. Thanks for having me, and it was a pleasure.